Okay, hey everybody, welcome to the Autoimmune Connection. It's a monthly YouTube hangout that brings patients, practitioners, friends, and family together to connect the dots between autoimmune disease, diet, and lifestyle. Tonight we've got a really special episode for you guys. Us ladies are taking the night off, and you're going to be talking to our husbands and boyfriend about what it's like to live with an autoimmune patient, how we got them on board with some of the diet and lifestyle stuff, or how they feel about all of that, just whatever. So it's a really common question in all of the support groups, and we really appreciate these guys coming out to kind of talk about it. We get a lot of wives and mothers asking about, well, how do I explain all of this to my husband? How do I talk about my new diet and my new lifestyle and all of that stuff in a way that's understandable and approachable and doesn't alienate my entire family because they want to eat whatever foods they want to eat or whatever. So it's really common. It's going to be a great episode. I'm really excited to have you guys here, and I want to thank you all for coming. I also want to introduce you. So we have David, who represents Angie Alt from Alt-ternative Autoimmune. Hi, David.
Hi.
And we have Noah Trescott representing Mickey from AutoimmunePaleo.com.
Hi, everyone.
We also have Scott from Nutrisclerosis, Whitney Ross Gray's husband.
Hey there.
And we have Tom, who is married to Eileen from Phoenix Helix. Hey, Tom.
Hello.
And finally, we have Noah, my Noah. There are two Noahs tonight, so you'll, have to figure that out. But thank you all for coming. I really, really appreciate it. This is a really important topic for autoimmune patients and their families. So thank you so much for coming. I'm going to take off. I'm going to get you guys started. Our first kind of talking point was basically like, how does it feel being married to or involved with someone with autoimmune disease? And how did it feel when she got diagnosed and all of that stuff? So we're going to start off with a really heavy one. So go nuts. Have fun. Thanks for coming.
Awesome. Thanks for the introduction. Well, I don't know about you guys, but that was a turning point in my life for sure. I wasn't ready to admit that my wife even had an issue. It was kind of like I tried to ignore it for as long as possible and say, oh, this is going to go away, it's going to get better, maybe, this doctor or that vitamin or whatever, and eventually we'll just go back to normal. But eventually it was kind of like, this isn't going away, this is something we're going to have to deal with. And then it was, oh God, is this going to be forever, this like heavy, or is this going to last, what does this look like for the rest of my life? And I don't know, that was a big challenge. And mostly it was a mental game for me, just kind of coming to terms with, the reality of what an autoimmune disease even is and how do we deal with it and, where do we go from here? How about any of you guys? What were your reactions?
Yeah, I mean, I would say for me, I didn't even realize she was sick. Obviously, like you said, didn't realize it was a problem, that there was a problem. We were actually separated whenever she got the news that she had any form of issue, and she was actually falsely diagnosed with MS. And so she actually gave me a call, even though we weren't together, and she was like, so I want to apologize for everything when we were together. I was like going crazy. I didn't know what was wrong with me. And then I was just hanging out with my buddies, and she said, yeah, I was diagnosed with MS. And I was like, wow. So yeah, so we got drunk that night because that's what we do when we find out bad news. And yeah, it was ridiculous. And then I guess we started talking again after that because she realized, that maybe a lot of the problems we had weren't because we had problems, but because she was feeling terrible. She just didn't know how to handle it. So yeah, that's how it was for me. And then we found out it wasn't MS, it was Hashimoto's and blah, 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 blah. But, same story. Yeah.
No, I think it was really interesting to hear you talk about like you had to come to this acceptance of like, is this ever going to go away? And I think it's really interesting because I don't think even today, after dealing with it for maybe 2 years now, I, I don't think I've accepted it. Not in that same, and not in the way that you've put it, you know. And I think I still kind of wait for, you know, I mean, obviously the nutrition has done such a huge leap forward for us all, but I sort of feel like, oh, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. And I think we run into that with our friends and family all the time. Like, they keep on telling us, like, I can't believe this is still going on. Like, I can't believe you have this one more hurdle. And it just seems to get worse, or just seems to get harder, and you have to give up more, and you have to give up more of yourself and more of what you want. And, you know, and I think to our friends and family, it almost seems more unfair than it seems to Angie or even to myself, because, you know, we live with it every day, and they can't even wrap their heads around it. They don't even know what's going on. But I have a trouble with that acceptance. I still have a bit of denial. Like, I think, like, oh, maybe it's gonna go, like, maybe this isn't gonna happen. But we've recently got news where we were like, oh, wait a minute, there's still a lot more work to be done, and it just, what do you do?
Yeah, and it's crazy because everyone's experience is a little different. I mean, there's so many autoimmune diseases, or even people with the same one may have different reactions or food triggers or all kinds of things. But and it's funny, like, the nutrition thing has helped enormously, and Mickey seems normal half the time, and it's almost like I forget that she has an autoimmune disease, and that, she can't function at, like, this level that I remember her functioning at, years ago. And every once in a while we get close, and it's great, and life is awesome. And then there might be an autoimmune flare, and it's like, oh wait, back to the reality that, this is something we're going to have to deal with. And being patient, or trying to pick up extra slack, or go to the grocery store, or whatever, becomes a big deal. That can make or break kind of those moments where it's not so easy.
Right, right. Well, when my wife was diagnosed, it was just shocking. She was diagnosed with MS 2 weeks before our marriage in '07, and it's still shocking to even talk about it, because her symptoms isn't anything that I can physically see. It's all something that she experiences. Blurred vision, or maybe her foot is numb, or her hand is numb, and she isn't much of a complainer. I'm I take care of all the complaining here at this house. So, but she's a trooper, and she's so strict with her diet and her sleep and her exercise that she really got control of this so fast. So to me, it still seems like it's just a dream. I don't even see her as sick, And whenever she was first diagnosed, my mother, who has to worry about everything, said, "Oh, you sure you want to have kids? Because she might be in a wheelchair. She may not be able to do anything, and this and that." And we never talked about the negative. And as soon as she found out that getting pregnant will sort of curb all those MS symptoms for 9 months, 10 months. Here we are, 3 kids later. But it's been an adventure, and I like the lifestyle, and I hope that we can continue to go at it how we have been.
Well, Eileen's been sick for 2 years now, and when she first got sick, she was incredible pain. She couldn't work, and she looked like she was 90 years old, all humped over, and couldn't lift her arms, and was in amazing pain. And I'm just grateful that the diet was able to make that go away. She's still not 100%, but we lead a pretty normal life, except for we do way more dishes than most people, and have to eat differently. Don't go to restaurants much, but it's just amazing to me that a diet can change that, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a common story. Like a lot of people, or at least Mickey, she really crashed out. It was, no work for 6 months at least, and flat on her back for a long time before we saw any improvement. And it really was kind of almost an experiment with the diet. It was like, well, maybe this will be the magic bullet. And as we know, there's no magic bullets in health. It's a lot of work.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I know for us, it was, I mean, almost within a week of her deciding to go not just paleo, but to go the full AIP lifestyle. For me, it was like I got my wife back. Years of wrestling and sort of watching her fade away from the woman that I had married. I mean, within that first week, it was like all of a sudden, this is the woman I met, 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it was at the time, and it was such a relief. It was such a relief, and we were able to start partnering in our life and raising our kid together again, and and that was just, it was amazing, really refreshing.
But if anybody finds the magic bullet, I'd like to buy it.
Yes, sir.
So, how much does everyone participate in the kind of diet and lifestyle aspect of this? I mean, personally, when Mickey started AIP, at first I ate the same because she was cooking most of the food, and that's what was available for dinner. But eventually I realized that I was actually feeling quite a bit better myself, even though I don't have an autoimmune disease. So I've been basically AIP for the last 2 years. Granted, I eat some things that I know Mickey can't have, like tomatoes or some specific things here and there. But I mean, how do you guys how much have you adopted the AIP lifestyle yourselves?
Well, for me, it definitely goes in phases. If I'm at home, I'm really good. If I'm out on the job at lunchtime, got a half hour to eat, and I'm not prepared, it goes horribly wrong. And of course, I feel awful. But on my vacation, when I'm home in January and December, and I'm eating clean for 2 months, it's great, and you feel better, and you trim up a little bit. You don't quite have that gut from eating all those cheeseburgers that you shouldn't be eating. But it's for me, it was an easy change of lifestyle. Basically, for me, it just meant stop eating bread and gluten. I didn't really follow the AIP. I mean, I don't eat tomatoes anyway, but some of those other nightshades, I still eat potatoes. But because the diet was specifically for her health and her well-being, it made it that much easier.
Well, with us, we went through the elimination diet first, and I did that with Eileen, and then I gradually worked back as she added foods back, and so at home I eat pretty much what she eats, but outside of the house I eat other stuff. So, but
Sure.
the food at home is really good, so I don't feel like I'm missing anything, from that standpoint. She's a good cook, and food's good.
At first, I didn't think I could do it. I mean, I didn't. I didn't. I just sort of thought like she was just going to do it, and that I would be sort of there and supportive of it, but not really have to participate in it. And we also have, our 13-year-old daughter growing up in the house too, so that adds its own degree of challenges when it comes to eating. And, but there was a moment where I think that she realized that she had to make a stand for herself, and she just said, listen, I can't do this anymore. The only food that is coming into the house is the food that I think is safe coming into the house. And ever since that moment, we have eaten a very, very clean diet when we're home. My 13-year-old daughter, on the other hand, she goes out sometimes and has flaming hot Cheetos and whatever. And it ends up being a disaster. But, you know, I think for me, I'm practically, I would say 99% paleo, if not 90% AIP at this point. And even my lunches that I take to work, and like you said, like I feel better. I feel horrible when I don't eat, at very least paleo. And you know, I realize that I have a lot of problems with dairy. I have a lot of problems with gluten. Definitely have problems with beans that I didn't realize that I had. You know,
Sure.
I feel happier. I'm not cranky. I have a lot more energy. I work out now like 3 times a week, which I wasn't doing before, which is something that I loved when I was, you know, in college. And you know, I just feel great. And I just feel like, hey, I can do anything that I want to do. And I don't have to worry about my energy levels. And I'm just a better husband and a better father because of the way I eat.
Right on. That's great.
So I was awful. I used to bring pizza into the house like a jerk. I had no idea. For like the longest time, I was just terrible. I had no idea that it bothered her so much. I should have, because like when I was sort of growing up in Houston with my family, my stepmom, she couldn't eat beef, which sounds weird to me. I'm not sure why she couldn't eat beef. I'm not sure if it's just because she hit a cow with a car and now she can't eat beef. But basically, like, we never had beef, or we still had beef in the house, but she couldn't eat it. So she would prepare meals for us, and then she would have to cook her own thing. So it was normal for me to like understand the situation, and I was very insensitive to the fact that having it in the house would bother her so much. But then now being in a relationship with a person that has that same thing going on, it really like enlightened me to how awful it must have made her feel. And then I adapted pretty quickly because, like, I guess I'm relatively religious, and so for Lent, I decided I'll do the elimination diet. So I did that last year, 40 days or whatever, and I did really well. I was perfect on the AIP. It felt great. And then, like, immediately afterwards, started eating pizza, drinking beer, you know, all that. And then I tried it again this year, and I pretty much stuck with it. I actually I don't eat out unless it's with her, and we like try to go because she's done like a lot of the reintroductions. So we'll go to like some of those gluten-free places, like the Kirby Lane Cafe is pretty good gluten-free stuff. But for the most part, yeah, it was I was a jerk, and now I've learned. Yeah.
It happens. It's kind of it's a learning curve. Some people catch on quicker than others, and honestly, you don't know what you don't know. Like before Mickey found the AIP diet, I had no idea how much food could actually affect you. Like, okay, the simple stuff, like you drink too much, you're gonna feel horrible the next day. But I never realized that, like, you know, some bread or some, you know, random food that's actually mostly chemicals you're gonna end up feeling like crap, frankly.
It's funny you say that because it's exactly, I mean, that's the choice you have to make now, you know, because you know better, you know how it's going to make your body feel. I never thought that eating food was going to be the same decision about whether or not I had a, you know, 6-pack of beer that night, you know. I mean, I almost feel better drinking than I do, you know, than I do eating, you know, a bag of whatever, you know, fill in the blank manufactured food. And, you know, it's crazy. I never thought that it would have that much of an impact on my life.
So where are we at? I'm trying to think what the next little topic. Anyone else have anything to add about the kind of food style? Besides food in general, maybe are there other lifestyle aspects? I know I think it was Dave, you touched on kind of working out more and eating paleo. Is there anything else that kind of goes along with AIP that people have found themselves kind of adapting and finding helpful? My big one. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't know. One of the things that happened to us, and this is as a cause of the illness. I mean, we had to, and I'd be really interested to hear from you guys about how much you had to change your lives. I mean, when Angie got sick, I mean, we had no idea what was wrong with her, and she got sicker and sicker, and we were living overseas. And, I mean, literally, within a minute, we had to decide, okay, if we evacuate her, we're never coming back. If we send her back to the States, we're never coming back to this place that we call home. And that meant not only moving, but that meant changing my whole career, and Angie dropping completely out of school, us being homeless for a little bit of a time, trying to figure out what we were doing, where we were going. We were separated for like 4 or 5 months because I still hadn't found a new job in the States. And it just sort of, I mean, that part of our life, that was what really was stressful, I think, on our marriage, but changed our lives for the better, because now, we're much healthier, much more deliberate in what we do and how we act to each other even, and much more loving to each other. And that we're just more deliberate in what we buy, what we eat, how we spend our money, where we go. And it was a big change, and it was a really hard change. And it cost a lot in money and sacrifice and everything on everybody's part, including our daughters. But I think in the end, because we are so much more deliberate in everything we do, we're much more relaxed and less stressed.
Yeah, totally. I didn't know that story, by the way. That's pretty incredible. But it basically comes down to how much is health worth to you? How much is your significant other's well-being worth? I mean, and that's a big question. I mean, for some people it's, okay, I'll pay for doctor's bills, but I don't really want to change my diet. But I found that the more I invest in her health, the happier I become. I mean, so I sleep more. She's got to get 8 hours of sleep. Well, great. I mean, I feel good getting 8 hours of sleep, Oh, we go to bed earlier. All right, fine. I'm okay with that, So the more I really realized, this isn't just investing in her health, it's investing in my health. And then, like you said, Dave, you become happier, healthier, more aware of what you're spending your money on, how you're spending your time. It's like, after a while, it doesn't feel like a sacrifice. It feels like, you kind of won the lottery by all of a sudden you're aware and life kind of is making sense finally.
Right. It's it's sort of a feeling like finally you have all, as far as the perfect health diet goes, you have all the answers, and we know what to do, and there shouldn't be any excuses if you fall off of your diet. It's just bad self control. I know every time I eat something I shouldn't, I always feel horrible, always, 100% of the time. But yeah, there's still something in me where I still have that piece of pizza, or I still eat that burger or whatnot. But one of the greater things about finding this diet and following it is our children are also on it. And I mean, I can't tell you how well our children are behaved and how they sleep, and I know 90% of it is strictly from how they eat.
Wow, that's awesome. Miggy and I don't have kids yet, but I can't imagine raising kids kind of on the sugar and chemical-based foods that are
right.
90% of a grocery store. I mean, I can't imagine.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it also sort of makes me jealous that these kids have had such a great start. I didn't find it until I'm almost 40 years old, you know, and I feel like, well, how fortunate are these kids to grow up, you know, eating paleo and eating clean, and it's a good feeling.
Well, Maggie had migraines since she was 3 years old, and like really severe, huge. This is our daughter would have just like huge migraines that would cause her to vomit, and she would have 2 or 3 of them in a month for her whole entire life. And when we dropped specifically gluten out of our diet, and she's been tested for celiac, and she's been tested both genetically and her antibodies, and she doesn't have celiac disease and at all. But she does, strangely enough, if she has any type of heavy dose of gluten, if she has a slice of pizza, she gets almost a migraine almost within 2 or 3 hours, and it's just crazy. And we can tell by the way that she acts, her attitude, her sassiness, her sleep patterns, everything, if she's been off kilter, off pattern, and eating stuff at her friend's house that she shouldn't be, or things that she knows don't make her feel well. And when she's eating clean stuff, and even her acne and everything go away, and that part of being a teenager doesn't exist. And so, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy what that will do to your kid. Like you're jealous. Like they have all the tools to get through the really hard part of life, which is puberty. So.
Right.
And also she strangely, like, she's developing at a normal pace instead of developing at 9 or 10 years old. Where all of her friends were developing much earlier, she is going through puberty, at 12, 13, when things like that are supposed to be happening.
Yeah, I'm sure all the hormones in our food have just done some crazy things to kids.
Well, it's horrible.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, Scott, you mentioned kind of when you are out and you eat a cheeseburger or something and you feel horrible right after, and then Dave, your daughter, if she eats gluten, she gets a headache, and it's really interesting. Like, we know this, and we're maybe not people who have an autoimmune disease, so we can make that decision to, eat that burger or that slice of pizza, and we'll suffer for it, but we'll also feel fine the next day or 2 days later, or however long it takes. But have you guys had some experiences where, like, for me, Mickey and I, we very rarely go out to eat, but we trust a few places around to be gluten-free or kind of prepare the food carefully. But even then, it's tough. Like, you get glutened, we call it, where you get something in your food that you shouldn't have eaten. And for me, I'll be sick for a day, but that could throw you for a while.
Sure.
With an autoimmune disease. So how do you guys support that, or what's kind of the strategy for when things go wrong?
Well, when Eileen, when she was reintroducing food, sometimes she'd have something and it would take her 2 or 3 weeks to a month to get back to where she was when she ate it. So we really don't go out unless we absolutely have to. And that sometimes that's annoying because we miss the convenience, but the meals we eat at home are better than anything we get in the restaurant anyway, so it doesn't seem like that much of a sacrifice on most days. But it's hard for traveling. And she's affected by all nightshades and dairy and grains, and there's so many things that she's affected by that it's pretty hard to eat out unless just getting a salad, but even then they have to put spices on or something that'll trigger a reaction. So we try to take food with us when we travel if we can. That seems to help.
Angie gets really depressed when she's at the airport. She used to love airplane food, strangely. It's probably why she got sick. but she used to love airplane food. She used to love buying, stuff at the gift shop and candy and chips, and she just loved that part of traveling. And it's really depressing for her when she's stuck at the airport and she can't do any of that stuff that she did before.
All right, so we've talked a lot about food, but what other ways do you guys find yourself supporting your significant other? I mean, I have here on the talking points, how involved are we in their health? Do we go to their appointments, or do we know what their doctors are telling them, or do we know what supplements they're on, or kind of how in tune are you with kind of their day-to-day progress or struggle with autoimmune disease?
Well, Christina takes me to all of her doctor's appointments. They're awesome. I sit there in the corner with my little magazine, and our very nice doctor, who is now my doctor as well, because we apparently found the one great doctor in Austin. And so, yeah, I hear everything that they talk about. They go over, this is your levels here, these are your levels here, you look great here, you look great there. And I obviously don't absorb it that well because I'm not as smart about the whole what is what about autoimmune disease. But I definitely get concerned, and I pay attention to like when things are like your T3 is high or whatever, and they just have to switch her onto a different autoimmune, like whatever it is, the thyroid drug or whatever. Anyways, so like I pick up her medication from CVS all the time, and the first thing I check is to make sure that it's like her West Coast thyroid or whatever, instead of the thyroid that has gluten in it, because there is a thyroid medication that has gluten in it. So just little things like that I like to at least pay attention to, and just make sure that and then we all take the same supplements. We both take probiotics every day. I don't remember the other one, but she puts them in my cup and I drink them down. And and also like the biggest thing that I do, as far as being proactive in her health, is make her eat as much as I can. Like sometimes I know you don't want to like force food or anything, but she just doesn't have an appetite as part of her condition. So basically what I like to do is just cook something up, something fancy usually, as best I can. I like Russ Crandall's book. I like to, cook like the really fancy stuff and then throw that down in front of her and say, you're going to eat this because it's delicious. And I spent 3 hours in the kitchen making this for you. And so most of the time
it works miracles.
Yeah, right. Most of the time she's like, I'm not hungry, but I'll try it. But yeah, that's the big thing that I like to try to do, is at least try to get her to eat, yeah.
For us, for Whitney, she's fairly fortunate. She only has to go to the doctor but once a year for an MRI. And no, I haven't been in the last 3 times. Usually home with the kids. But I was thinking about this question. How do I support? I don't know that I really do much. Occasionally some shopping. I make sure I don't. Other than that, we've got it pretty easy. She's on a ton of supplements, and I couldn't tell you what any of them are, even though she asked me to grab them for her every single night. But yeah.
I think that's part of it, though. It's doing what she tells you to do,
You're right.
And not like arguing with it. Like, when she tells me that this is the doctor's appointment that I need to go to with her, I make that. It doesn't matter what meeting I have going on at work or what's going on. I just cancel everything and I just go with her. Or if she tells me I need this for dinner and will you go pick this up from the natural food store, I'm baking these things. I want to try these new things for out tonight so I can post it to the Facebook page or whatever. Just being there and not putting up a fight, I think, is probably really relieving to her, because I'm usually not that unstubborn. I'm usually pretty stubborn with her. So I think that's a big way I support her. And I don't go to like all the routine appointments, but anytime we go to a first appointment with anybody, and we recently had to go to an appointment with a surgeon, and really weigh out some pretty serious options and try to figure that stuff out. And that's those are the times that you're like, okay, I need to be really present. I need to be asking all the same questions. I need to rehearse these questions with her so she knows what's going on, what she wants to ask the doctor. And sometimes I'll remember stuff that she doesn't remember, so that helps her. But it's those sort of things I think that are what's helpful to her. At least I hope they're helpful.
Well, we're fortunate Eileen doesn't take any medications that require prescriptions, so she really doesn't go to the doctor. Doesn't take a lot of, she takes some supplements, but not a lot. She's more likely to try some, and if she notices an effect, she'll keep taking them. She has a few that she takes all the time. I guess I help up. I go to the farmer's market every Saturday and chop a lot of vegetables and do whatever I can in the kitchen. And in the patients, she spends a lot of time with her blog, so she photographs a lot of meals, and which I'm not real patient, so I would like to eat while it's really hot. So.
Amen to that one.
Yeah, but the pictures turn out great and the food is great, so I have no complaints.
I'm guilty of that one. I'll start dinner before the photos are taken. I'm bad with that one.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, the support thing really, even though we were talking about doctor's appointments, which Nikki doesn't really go to the doctor that much anymore. There was a period where, it was pretty important to get some tests done and all sorts of things. And I went to some and didn't go to others. It was kind of like Dave was saying, it's like, which ones are important and you should go to, and you just make that a priority. And other ones, it's also, I found it's good to kind of let her fly solo sometimes. Like, no, you got this. You go. You know what to say. You got. You can handle going to this one on your own. You don't need me to hold your hand. Kind of like, fly, little birdie. But food is huge. Like, I found that breakfast is a tough one. So I make breakfast every day, and I love breakfast. It's my favorite meal of the day. So it's like, coming up with a new way to do AIP breakfast every morning is a challenge. But that's a fun one. I mean, it's not a fun meal to make AIP, so I've kind of made it my personal goal to just make as many different versions of breakfast as I can think of, and that's been huge. Starting the day off right with food is a big deal. So.
Yeah, we pretty much got like one version of breakfast, and that's batch cook a bunch of liverwurst and then like down a green smoothie every morning. That's like breakfast every day. But I mean, it works.
There you go.
We have chicken soup. I make chicken soup every Sunday and make a big pot of it, and it's enough for get us through the whole work week, and that's really good. It's a whole chicken and lots of vegetables, and it's a really tasty breakfast. It really sticks with you. We both thought it was strange when we started it, but now when we travel and don't have it, we really miss it.
Yeah. We have some chicken, so I end up eating lots of eggs. So it's normally I make kind of like a buffet of breakfast. It's like a few different things that you can compile on a plate, one of which happens to be eggs, which I'll eat. And Mickey has done the elimination diet and AIP for a few years, so she can tolerate eggs, maybe a few times a week, but not, she knows when she's been doing the eggs too much, and then it's like time out, no more eggs for a few weeks. And that's an interesting point, like just being aware that things can change day to day with food. I notice that in myself. Like sometimes I'll be fine eating potatoes and other nightshades and whatever, and sometimes that's not quite the best idea. And oftentimes it's probably based on my stress level or how much of it I've had. But you guys notice anything besides food that's like a big trigger to maybe some some autoimmune players?
Well, other than that, sleeping. That's like the number one thing. Like if I like, because I like to do like a game night every now and again, have some people over, so she'll socialize because she spends like 90% of her time in our apartment working for Sarah. Um, so yeah, I'll like have some people over. We'll do game night, and we'll stay up till like 11 instead of 10 o'clock, and then for like 3 weeks straight, she's dead. Like she just lays on the couch like a zombie and just like, get me things. So yeah, sleep is like the number one thing. If we don't get the proper sleep, she's thrown off for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And stress, just like you were just talking about Christina working all the time. I mean, I don't think Angie's ever worked as much as she works now, and not in our. I mean, she's always worked hard and she was always great, but she just went for 8 hours and was done. But now she loves and lives what she does, and I mean, she's just working 24 hours a day. She's constantly thinking about new recipes, constantly thinking about what she's going to post on her page, how she's going to work with her clients, or what she's going to do. And I think sometimes that amount of work will flare up, and she'll start getting more abdominal pain or more just exhaustion, more difficulties with some of her normal symptoms that come up, every so often. And then so that definitely plays a big role. And, it's good to sometimes just take a break. We'll go on a road trip and we'll say like, no computer, no screen time. Everybody's off their screen for a couple of days, because that will really recharge us to be able to, and it seems to recharge Angie.
Mm-hmm. You see that a lot too. Taking time off is important.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's interesting, Noah, you mentioned a game night and trying to encourage getting out of the house a little bit, and then Dave, you mentioned kind of just the overworking. I think that's a common thread. I mean, Mickey is invested in her work and projects, and it takes a lot of time, and home has become everything. I mean, we don't go out to eat. We really have, become very much nesters, sort of, like invested in our home life. But how do we also, like, encourage socializing and getting out and, like, date night, game night, stuff like that, when it can have a negative effect if it's not done, thoughtfully?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Tom? You got some wisdom on date night, game night?
I never encourage socializing. But a lot of times you can do things during the day that and bring food. We like to hike, and we live in a beautiful place in Boone, so there's lots of trails, and it's nice just to get outside and get away from the house. So the downside of working at home is you're always at work, so it's important to get out. But bring your own food.
I don't have that problem here. My Whitney's a social butterfly. She's always on the go, always having fun, always hanging with somebody, and I'm more of the homebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think around here it's just, with our kiddo, it's sort of like that's the social nexus of everything. So it's like sleep over here, sleep over that, and if we can get a night to ourselves, it's just nice to just relax. And those are the nights that we actually get to sleep at like 8:30 or 9 o'clock.
Awesome. Well, I think, Tom, you might have hit on something, though. Getting out and hiking and doing things during the day. I think for us, that's become a big way to get out, and also a way to get away from the computer and the phone and the stress and work and all that stuff is prioritizing a walk or a hike or a meal in the park or some way to get outside and out of the house and away from computers is has been a big help. I notice a remarkable difference when Mickey, we've been working up on this farm in Oregon, we're in a transition. We're going to be moving here shortly, and the weekends she spends on the farm, she's like going gangbusters, working hard, working with the shovel, going on walks, playing with baby goats, doing all kinds of stuff. And the minute she gets home and is in front of the computer for 3-4 days straight, it's like, a totally different person. Night and day difference.
Yeah, our bodies weren't designed to sit around all the time. We need to move.
Amen.
Awesome.
Got to get that vitamin D too.
There we go.
Which apparently I'm deficient in, so I'm on one of those 50,000 IU pills right now.
Man, you must be feeling like you're awesome right now, like you could do anything.
Yeah.
Even down in Austin, you're not getting enough sun, huh?
I know, right? Like we even talked at PaleoFX about like the vitamin D reminder app or whatever.
Yes. Vitamin D reminder app. That's a good one.
And still don't get my vitamin D.
Yep.
Yeah, we like to. Sometimes we'll go down and like spend like a morning at the pool, just like lay out there till we feel like we're baked on both sides, and then we'll go back in. But,
there you go.
Yeah.
I tell you, after this winter though, like it's just so nice just having any day that's sun. At very least, we're sitting out on our patio. And the skeeters aren't so bad this year either, so we can stay out there most of the night without any problems. And it's just nice to be out with the trees, and sometimes we'll see some deer walk around, and birds and squirrels and chipmunks, and all that stuff relaxes you a little bit from all the screen time and all the other stuff going on.
Well, yeah, so I've got a car accident outside my apartment every day, so that's much less relaxing than your thing.
Oh, I thought Austin was supposed to be wide open land and beautiful.
Yeah, no. I wish.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, anybody else have anything they want to add? Questions? Well, we got the panel here.
Nope.
All right. Well, I think we're supposed to go till 5, but I feel like it's close enough. Is that right? Were we supposed to go to 5? Am I cutting this off too short?
You're 5, my 7. I can always like holler at the woman and be like, "Hey."
I bet we're good. All this talk about getting outside and away from screen times, I'm like, okay, we're done.
Let's get away from it.
All right, so I have a little exit blurb here I'm supposed to read. Basically, thank you to everyone for being here, both the panel and anyone tuning in live. This will also be on YouTube, so be sure to follow A Clean Plate on Google Plus and subscribe to A Clean Plate on YouTube. If you'd like to find out when the next Hangout is, you can find the links in the description below. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the discussion. All right, guys. Any final words?
Thanks, Noah. Thanks for doing this. And
Absolutely.
both Noahs.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool, guys. Well, it was nice to speak with all of you.